Alright, so I wanted to just get into how we can implement Flipgrid into our course. It's a really great tool that students and faculty usually appreciate, but sometimes the first time you implement it, or maybe the first few times, it can be a little bit of a challenge to first set up. So I did want to walk through it. So you do want to set up an account. I do already have an educator login, so I've got my account all ready to go. Now, I usually don't set up too much inside of Flipgrid itself. So what I do want to do is create what's called an integration, but I'm going to start out actually over in Canvas. So I use Canvas for a lot of my classes, and in order for Flipgrid to actually work, we've got to go into settings, and then we've got to go to our apps. And so Flipgrid is an app that we can integrate into Canvas. You just search for it. And then once you find it, we're going to go ahead and say Add App. Now, this is the part we need from our actual login. So I am actually going to go back to Flipgrid and I'm going to set up an integration. And these two things are things I'm going to have to copy back over. So we'll go right here and say Integrations. And I usually just add an integration based off of the class that I am teaching. So I honestly don't remember the exact course. I usually put in the course prefix. So give me a second to make sure I have it matching the exact course. 6437. And sometimes I'll actually put like the date as well. So, and then we'll say create. So this is my new one. This kind of tells you when you created it. This is the consumer key. We can literally copy it. And that's going to connect it to Flipgrid's app so that when it's time to assess and review things, they go together and know how to connect to Flipgrid's actual tool. So, and then the secret key that we've got there is going to be, again, specific to your account. So you're going to want to copy that after you've made an integration. Now, once you have implemented it, the next step, obviously, it doesn't suddenly just show up in your course. There are some options where the navigation, sometimes I'll start showing it, but I usually don't implement it in my navigation because I don't really use it to that level. So with that said, I actually connect it to an assignment. So whenever I implement Flipgrid, I do make sure that it's very clear to me and to the students that the assignment is a Flipgrid activity, and usually name it with Flipgrid. And then so basically we're going to click on this assignment, we're going to edit the assignment, and then we are going to actually go in here and let's see, we're going to go in, and this is where I always get mixed up, but there is an integration option here. So it's the submission type. So it's not very obvious when you first put in. Every single time I go through, there's a PDF that they give out through Flipgrid, but even that, I feel like I've got to walk through it several times. So this is why I'm creating this video. So we're going to basically go in and we're going to find it. There it is right there. And then we'll say select. And then we should be able to just say save. Now what shows up right here, we are going to have to actually create a course grid. So we'll just go ahead and say create course grid. And what happens is now you officially have the assignment connected to your Flipgrid. So we're going to actually be able to use it. So you do want to click that last button that showed up before this screen right here. This is not actually what students see though. So this kind of is like the teacher preview, and this is definitely why it's very helpful to preview things in the actual student view. So we'll just go back in and look at assignments, look at Flipgrid, and this is what it's going to look like for them. So they are going to be able to interact, and what they do is they go right here and click on this green plus sign. So usually when we integrate, we're going to want to make sure our assignment has really clear instructions. I have not input them yet, but they're going to go right above here. And then inside of Flipgrid, I also put assignment instructions right here. So usually you can edit those directly in Flipgrid. Once we go in, we should be able to go to my grids, and then this should be my new one that I just made. And so then you can just go into this one and specifically edit. You can edit this field right here, and then as the discussions start coming in, you can actually interact with them through Flipgrid's website yourself. But students obviously are going to interact right here, so they will actually see them pop up in a row, and then they'll be able to interact. They'll be able to reply to one another. And then on the grading side of things, you will actually see those show up in your speed grader, where you can view the initial response. I actually find it easier to review all of their responses through the actual website once I'm trying to interact more in depth or assess. So it is helpful to have both available, but they do show up in the speed grader. So I hope that helps you out. Flipgrid is very fun, but there are some challenges with implementing it. So it is something you want to test. Give yourself adequate time to put in your course. And then the best way to see if it's going to work for your class is implement it and get it to work and get feedback from your students.